Welcome everyone to the May Sonophilia Salon. My name is Matthias Röder, I'm the host, and with me is Michael Elling of Elling International.
Hello, Matthias. Nice to be here. Thanks very much.
Yes, Michael, you've been a professional in law, in human resources at many different companies. I just name a few, I think Volvo, Shell, Lansing, and you've always been working at the intersection of um, in a board function of humans and how they work in the company and for the company. And today's topic is AI and the human element.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to be talking to you about this. Um, I wanted to start off by asking you, how did you come to the field of AI? What was your interest in it? And maybe talk a little bit about the trajectory.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Matthias. Yeah, that's right. So AI, simply, you cannot avoid it, to be very honest, because it's one of the most powerful movements we have at this point in time. And it's very important, of course, for companies. And it is affecting not only companies, it's affecting all of us, right? In each and every single area of our lives. And so it's very important. And I got interested in that, especially because it is the intersection between technology on the one side, from my point of view, and humanity on the other side. How does that work? And everything is changing, and how do we cope as humans with that? And how do we make sure that we use it in a positive way? So that's my interest. I always liked humans and people, support people, and so on. So that's the background.
Recently, Meta, the company that owns Facebook, has announced a new shift in their strategy. They will move Facebook away from being a social network of people to being a platform that hosts agents, AI agents. The premise is that each one of us will have their own set of agents, and they need to do business for us. They need to communicate for us. They need to actually interact with a lot of the commercial world for us. Mark Zuckerberg has himself programmed an agent for himself to manage Meta, and every employee of Meta now has an agent on their side. These agents communicate with one another. Meta is really showing us a little bit what the future might be like. Do you agree with their approach that humans and AI will work together in companies and everyone will have the AI agent? Or do you think AI will be more like a specialist's kind of situation that you ask only for specific jobs like coding or doing, the accounting, things like that?
No, I strongly believe in the first version what you said. So AI is, from my point of view, I'm not a technical AI specialist. I have to say you are much deeper in this topics as I am, I would say. But of course, in our company as well, we are following the developments, and I know that development of Meta, and I fully agree with this, to be honest, because it makes AI and agents useful for humans at the end of the day. And so that is the idea. That is development. That is the development of this idea, and I fully agree with that because that is the right purpose. But what is very important is, from my point of view, how do we deal with that as humans, right? And so we have a very strong technical development, but on the other side, so to say, how do we deal as humans with that? What does that mean for us, for example, in companies, in leadership? How do we deal with agents and humans on the same side, right? Alongside. At the same time, how do we make sure that we have a positive human aspect still, that we get positive results for the humans at the end of the day? Because many people, as you know, are fearing as well about their jobs, for example, and about the future. And how do we make it happen that we have a positive future with all these technical developments? So that is what interests me from the human side, so to say.
And what are some of the approaches to managing this problem that you currently see that or where you think we need to put in more effort to develop this further?
Yeah. Um, I think it's a great example what you said with the meta world and Mark Zuckerberg on the one hand side, and we're very small, but on the other side I call it human world, right? So there is the stronger we become on the technology side, the more we need to become stronger as well on the human side. Because at this point in time, I see it more in the way that we have technology is more reducing a little bit humanity, human leadership as well, how to deal with leadership, guiding people in a area where you have a lot of individualization of the people. So the more we get this technology power, we need as well to be more human on the other side, and to make sure that we get these human effects. And how do we do that concretely? So it is very important that we have the human factors, which are at the end of the day deciding in which direction you use technology. Do you use it for building trust or for reducing trust? Do you build it for increasing security or for decreasing security? Do you use it for, let's say, a positive human impact and sustainability, whatever? Or are you using it at the end of the day for war, also for negative purposes? So leadership is deciding the direction and determining the direction where we want to use what comes out of technology as well. And that happens in companies, and that happens in as well for us as individuals, that happens everywhere. And what we are connected with and very much focusing is on exactly your question: what do we need to do? How does leadership look like in the future to make to ensure that we get these positive human impact and not a negative one?
So we are in a situation where we're moving from the manager or the leadership person being a decision maker towards the leadership being a system designer of how humans and AI work together, so that they, the human and the AI, the worker and the AI companion, can make decisions in the context of the company as it was designed by the leadership.
Yes, and I think we are in a shift from industrialization, where you in the past were looking very much in companies on efficiency, processes, getting as much as possible outcome out of processes and so on. And we are in a total shift in history, from my point of view, the first time. We have individuals who have a lot of power with technology. Technology is democratizing everything. Every business, every knowledge, everything, simply. You can do, we're a 100% digital company. We have a global reach. We are not big, but we have a global reach. And it was 10 years ago totally impossible to do that.
Right.
And you can do it now with your computer, with 3 people or whatever, no problem at all. So it's a very big shift. And so when you do this, you need to lead totally different, as you say. You need to use agents, for example, the newest technology. But first question is, what is the newest technology? Because the development is so fast that every 2 weeks you have something new, right? Even as a company, you have an issue to implement the right IT technology, as they thought in the past. There is no right IT technology any longer, because the movement is so fast that you need to adapt frequently to the development. And that is very challenging for companies, that is moving, for example, responsibilities from the IT department to the entire board, executive team and leadership team, including HR, for example, to make sure that you have a successful transformation. So it's really changing everything, I would say, in companies. And so it's changing, as you say, the leadership as well. We can go in more depth later on that. But I fully agree with your view. We have to change leadership very much.
I'd say that even it's not only IT departments and then boards, but it's increasingly becoming each individual worker in the company as well, who has to push the envelope in terms of integrating certain technology into the workflow,
Yes.
which raises the important question of, what you see a lot in the consulting world is you have IT systems that the company has put in place, and then you have the shadow IT,
Yes.
the stuff that people are doing on their own computer to make stuff work.
Yeah.
It is completely outside of the official view, but now increasingly this becomes becomes bigger. It becomes more impactful on actually the bottom line of the company, what people are doing with the AI on their own computers. How do we deal with that? Is there like a golden approach? Is it to lock down everything, or is it to be a little bit more flexible with risks and stuff like this? How do you see that?
With golden approaches, I'm always hesitating, I have to say. So I don't have the golden approach. If somebody has, I'm happy to hear about it.
Put it in the comments.
Yes, exactly. Please put it in the comments. But, one thought about it is that exactly what you said. So we need to make sure that each and everybody is working together, so to say, and simply said, right? That we have some kind of common view. Where do we want to develop to? That, for example, teamwork, this old word of teamwork becomes more important as it ever was in the past. Mm-hmm. Because you need to make sure that the people who are empowered by technology and can use all the newest technology for free, more or less, and they definitely use it, as you say, of course, so they can use the shadow technology and do it. How do we make sure that they use it for the purpose of the company? And in the past, you would have written long books with a lot of informations and how the people need to deal and what they need to do with the IT technology,
Right.
so to say. You can forget doing it.
Guidelines.
Nobody's reading it even if you do it that way. You need to trust. You need to lead the people differently. You need to make sure that they follow you, that they follow your leadership, that they work together, that they see a positive purpose and impact on what they are doing. And that is a total change in leadership. So the human qualities become even more important. The more, as I said before, the more technology powerful we become, the more humanity we need in leadership.
I'd like to talk about this aspect of technology versus humanity and challenge that a little bit with an example. When you look at how people are using chatbots like ChatGPT and Claude, the number one use case that Claude has published this a year ago, the number one use case they see is actually education. So people asking questions about factual things, helping them with homework, schoolwork, and so on. And then number two is personal tutoring. And to the point where I think they are a little hesitant to say that, but we're crossing the border into therapy. And so it seems that a lot of these chatbots, they actually bring to the table a quality that seems to be very enticing for humans, maybe even mimicking a human element. Is it maybe the case that the technology sometimes is more human than the humans you work with in a company? Or is there really a fundamental difference between the two modes of interacting?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, but I would not believe that technology is more human, but it helps very much humans. So technology is, from my point of view, clearly more, let's say, intelligence, so to say, from an intellectual perspective, but not from a human perspective, not from a feeling perspective, emotional perspective, not from art, for example, and so on. So technology is technology. It is not human, and that is exactly where the difference comes in. Human leadership should build on trust, should build on, let's say, courage, should build on responsibility, should build on of course, very important that you respect people, number one, so to say. So these kind of things. Then you create followers, you create people who follow you even without reading any handbook, which is 100 pages long, right? And they work in more or less in the same direction, because they love it to do it. They see the meaning of it, and that is the idea. And the great coincidence is that the people as well get some positive effect out of that. That is exactly what you say, that they use the technology for their own positive purpose, but as well for the positive purpose of the company, which is in line with their personal development. So if you combine this and make sense for the people and for the company, you have exactly human leadership, as I understand it, and you get as well, and that is very important for companies, you get a competitive edge. The more important, the more we have technology powerful, also the more humanity we need in companies to strengthen the human competitive edge. At the end of the way, you will win as a company if you have the strongest human competitive edge, not if you have the strongest technological solution, because there is no the strongest technological solution any longer. It is fast development, but what you can have is a totally different competitive footprint, human competitive footprint, and that makes you more successful, as every technology, every competitor has as well.
Is there, in the companies that you work with, are there examples, you don't have to name the companies, of course, of companies where the human element in the company is actually so strong that they reject integrating the technology, the AI technology at all? Or is there a lot of hesitation on including this kind of technology? Or would you say in general it's a balanced approach that you see?
Yeah, I think there are great companies who are really very successful. Everybody is struggling a little bit at this point in time, and you also have a lot of transformations which fail at this point in time, I have to say, because the companies if you can say it in that black and white general way, but many companies overestimate the technological challenges and underestimate the human challenges. In the past, it was already that a successful transformation you get if you focus on the soft power, if you make it happen that the people agree with what you're doing, if they follow you, if they agree with the transformation. And if you were not able to achieve this, it was not successful. You can have the best strategy. At the end of the day, the people can be intellectually convinced that this is right, but if they don't feel it, and if they don't think that is positive for them and for the company, they don't follow. And that was already in the past. Technology is increasing this need for humanity very much, because with this, as I said before, the technological solution everybody has, but this human power not everybody has. And there are great companies, and they are more and more understanding that way, in a way, but they are struggling very much. Many companies are struggling with transformation processes. From my personal, I don't have a statistic, there are statistics, they're talking about 75% of transformations are failing. That was already in the past, there is nothing new. I would say it's 90% at this point in time of transformations, so AI transformations failing at this point in time. Most of them fail.
I mean, the difficulty right now, it seems to me, is that if we're talking about transformation in the AI space, the 10% of companies, let's say it's 90-10, that succeed in integrating AI into their core business and processes will probably have a very, very bright outlook because they can reduce costs significantly, because they can be more active in terms of different business propositions to actually materialize. And the ones who have not really successfully transformed have a very bleak outlook. And this is becoming an existential problem.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely, fully agree. And what is very important, the companies need to move now, because that's this window you have now, or it is closed. And if they don't use it in the right way now, the competitors, the ones you mentioned, are far out. And they are very much faster because they can use the technology and the human factor. And that is, of course, as we all know, it's speeding up. The transformation is really very, very fast, accelerating every day, I would say. And so to be able to compete again later with a new innovation or whatever will be very challenging. So it is very important that that the companies understand it now, and that they act in the right way and implement it in the right way as well.
Our audience is very diverse. We have entrepreneurs, we have scientists, we have people who manage big companies, people who manage small companies. Could you maybe give them a hands-on tip for how to deal with this situation, that you need to move fast, that you probably also need to rethink a little bit who and how are you hiring? Do you have any concrete tips that people could employ without, having a 12-month transformation project at hand?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And but I still would take it a little bit in let's say two areas. One is a little bit more technical, because I think that is very important and helpful for companies. And the other side is more emotional and human, so to say. And the one part is, the technical part is, it's very important that each and every company is implementing the right knowledge and right leadership in all levels. So that means in the board, in the executive team, and as well in the leadership teams, and as you said, for example, as well on the worker level and so on. So very important to unite the people, to unite the company, and lead it in the right direction. And for that, you need to really act on all different levels at the same time, so to say. Very important. Just one hint, so to say, and then of course you have to explore exactly how to do that, and to make a profile for each and every company and whatsoever. What that means is a different story.
Or like Mark Zuckerberg, have your own AI clone that everyone can talk to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, maybe one possibility, exactly. And that leads exactly to the other part, so the more human part. So make sure really that you have this human leadership, that you focus on trust, that you focus on these old factors, so to say, like teamwork, but do it in a smart way that the people accept it today, right? You have, for example, Gen Z and all these things, we all talked about that a lot. There are differences in the people now, in the employees, what they expect, what they see as positive, what not. So dig into that. Understand your employees, understand your people, and try to share the interest they have with your own interest, and make one good team out of that. And so I'm trying to convince you to play golf. That is one idea. If you play golf together, you need to act as a team, right? And you cannot have single players, individual players. You will never succeed, right, in a play game.
Oh, really? I thought golf was an individualist
It
game.
is, but if you play in a team, you need to win as a team, of course.
Okay.
And so, and I'm talking about teams, not the individual part only.
Yeah.
And it's, look, in soccer or whatever sport, it is the same, right? So really, nowadays, the team factor is the most decisive factor, and the human factor is really decisive for the success for the companies. Just by the way, as well from my point of view, individually as well. For people making your career, building your career nowadays is very important, not only to look on the technical side, build your, I don't know, I use this old word, build your character, build your personality, make sure that you build your social responsibility and abilities, and that will lead your career much more than every knowledge or technology or whatever you have.
Michael, you've been a member of our advisory board at the Sonophilia Foundation, and our core mission is to really promote and increase creativity in our organizations. Do you think that technologies such as AI are helping us to become more creative on a personal level, but also on an organizational level? Or is this just gonna move the baseline, and then everyone has to scramble even harder to in the end make a living.
Yeah, that's why I love Sonophilia and that approach, because that is exactly the combination between, let's say, art, creativity, and on the other side, technology. And I'm a very positive minded and thinking person, and so I have the strong belief that technology will be used by humans at the end of the day and will make humans much stronger. Not in a negative way, you need to compete stronger or whatever. It is empowering us. If we use it in the right way, we will be able to solve issues, global issues we were never able to even focus on in an effective way. So I really think that AI and technology, there is much more than AI, as you know, will definitely help us in the future very much. It decides and determining factor is humanity. If we lead with humanity, human leadership for human purposes, we get positive out of that. And the question is how to do that. If we don't do it that way, I'm not so sure. So let's decide for the positive side.
There's a perfect ending, I think, for our 30 minutes, which are already over. Time flies. We have touched on many interesting aspects. I'm sure that people will have questions. They can ask them in the comments, and we will find a way for you to answer them. And we have here an audience in the room, and we're going to have a discussion with them now afterwards. But I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing your expertise, and I'm looking forward to doing another conversation maybe in a year from now and take stock, where are we in terms of human and AI leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matthias. I'm looking forward to that. Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.